Right, it's time to review the major. So, things to complain about in no particular order. Things I observed. It'll be roughly chronological, and it'll touch on some of the things that the community were talking about as the major was running on, while I give my thoughts about the major. And basically, just to put it into a capsule summary at the start, if you haven't read my article, or if you have, ultimately, I thought this major was okay. Like, real talk. I thought it was okay. I'm disappointed it wasn't better. I'm disappointed that if you're going with the storyline of this is the farewell to CSGO, there's no content around it being the farewell to CSGO. Nothing from Valve, nothing from Blast. Overall, we all saw, unfortunately for Blast, unfortunately for fans of the game, we ended up with a bunch of shit games and a bunch of shit teams. And there's just no getting around that. It's a very blunt and harsh way to put it. But at the best will in the world, I don't believe Into the Breach, Apex, Monte, and Gamer Legion are your new tier 1. I'm sorry, I don't. I think they'll get found out when they get opportunities to play other teams. I think other teams are going to be suitably embarrassed going into, you know, the rest of their commitments, and someone's going to step up. We're already starting to see roster shuffles. There's a bare minimum that's going to be allowed, a bare minimum of bad that's going to be allowed moving forward, and it's good. It's been a kick up the arse. This was, you know, if Virtus Pro fluke in a major wasn't enough, this major with one of the worst top 8 you'll ever see, that should really hammer it home. And I'm not coming along for the ride with, these are your best teams in the world right now. The top 8 at the majors, the top 8 in the world. No, not at all. The format's trash. The format lends itself to worse teams doing better. A number of good teams have carried terrible players. Remember my theory of the Hooxi line. The Hooxi line, anything below that is unsustainable for a team to win. Anyone below Hooxi stats. And, you know, Vitality won a major with a player below the Hooxi line. That's fucked. Not a great scene for everyone. So, yeah, the bottom line is people don't seem to understand the concept of a ceiling can be lowered at the same time a floor gets raised, and the raise in the floor will feel more significant because people can't understand it. They can't understand nuance. You get people say, like, oh, it's the most competitive the scene has ever been. Yeah, but not for good reasons. Not because people are playing better CS. Not because, you know, oh, but CS is all played out. I just don't want to hear it. The CS is objectively worse in 2023 than it was in 2019. Simple. And you can watch it. If you know, you know. If you don't know, fine. Have your fucking dog shit matches. You know, it's up to you. So, anyway, the bottom line is that it's not a great scene right now. And I think that led to us not getting a great major. I think production was okay. I think the talent did a decent job, with the exception, which we'll get to. I don't know where they pulled that guy from, the Danish interviewer. He fucked up a bunch. Still don't know why they put Dinko on interviews. Well, the community didn't even like that, so I don't get it. I don't understand why Jake Lucky was there. He embarrassed himself from start to finish, rambling about, everyone who follows me on Twitter knows I don't like bananas. All right, this is content, I guess. So yeah, it was very, very average. I think if I was to rate it, if we were to do like a tier list, it's better than London, better than Berlin, maybe. Obviously better than Rio, but, you know, it's not great. It wasn't a great major. It wasn't a great send-up. The trophy was embarrassing. It actually looked really stupid to see Vitality, like, tears streaming down their face in a partisan crowd winning their first major, and they have to hold up a fucking butt plug in their hand. Like, it looked photoshopped. It just doesn't look real. Just pathetic. Lots to complain about, but, I mean, ultimately, we've been served up some absolute pig shit and told it was delicious chocolate pudding in the past, so I can't really moan too much about this. Like, anyway, let's get into it. So I've literally just been every day, I've been highlighting stupid things that I saw on social media, and basically I'm just going to talk about them in sort of chronological order to flesh out what the major experience was like. We did talk a lot about the interviews, and I said, if you remember, in my talent review that there was going to be constant pushback for Dinko. Now, for those who don't know, Dinko's an up-and-coming caster. Well, I say up-and-coming, he's paid his dues. He's not an up-and-coming caster anymore. He's an actual good tier one commentator that's been doing work with Henry, now working with Moses, and he should be getting hired as a caster to cast at events because he's a caster. That's what he does. But instead, for some reason, during the RMR cycle and at the major, they wanted Dinko to do interviews. And not just any old interviews. They want him to do exit interviews. And unfortunately, in esports, the exit interview, that is an interview as someone exits the tournament, they are the hardest type of interview to do. Why? Because, first of all, they are an art form unto themselves. You have a very shut down, unresponsive, or potentially emotionally volatile competitor that doesn't want to be talking, and you have to extract information from them via a series of questions. The other problem is that we have fucking fans that are plebs and children raised on anime. And so they think if your feelings hurt, you should just be allowed to retreat into the ball of anime suffering and just sit there and feel bad, when of course you're part of a multi-million-dollar machine that gives you an incredibly privileged life, and the bare minimum you might be expected to do as one of the sort of, apart from the practice and all of the training that you do, is you might have to actually fucking do an interview when you don't feel like it. And I know this is like such a thing for players. They literally cannot get their heads around it, but people want to hear from you when you're at your best and when you're at your worst. It's part of being a public figure. They want to get some emotional insight into you. And so my advice to you is, if you're a player and don't want to do these types of interviews, instead of being a cunt and refusing, or instead of being rude to the interviewer, or instead of giving shit answers that make the interviewer and the broadcast look bad, just simply go through the motions of thanking the fans, saying you're disappointed, but you're going to work hard, and we'll see what comes next. It's simple, it's effective, they do it in sports, it's what you always do in sports, people get trained to do this in sports. It works, it's fine, do that. But of course, that would mean players have to act like their fucking actual age instead of children. So, lo and behold, Dinko was fed to the fucking lions again, as I said he would be, and needless to say, Dinko's a bad person now. So the subreddit thinks Dinko is a bad person, he lacks empathy, he's not a nice person because he did bad exit interviews. This is in the Greyhound versus Liquid game. What the hell was that post-match interview with sicko mode? Give that man and the team some respect and ask some real questions. Yakindar said they wanted to win hard. Did you feel that? Bruh. No, ask about their future, what they think they can improve on, what they're doing next. Don't know why, but that shit irked me. Now, I do want to remind everybody, and again, go and watch the other video, which will absolutely prove this beyond a shadow of a doubt. When Dinko said, plenty of events in the future, what about the next event that's coming? How are you going to fix the team? Everyone turned around and said Dinko didn't have empathy. And why would they want to talk about the future when they've just gone out of the major? That was literally the criticism for him. He has taken the feedback from Reddit on board, assimilated it, used it in practice, and Reddit has made a thread criticizing him. And Reddit will say, but it isn't the same Redditors. This is why your feedback on Reddit is worthless. You are a swirling ball of consensus of the worst opinions at any moment. You will upvote anything and everything that makes you feel something in your empty shit lives. And so we get on one day, Dinko bad. Then we get at the end of an event when Dinko says, this was a hard event for me because something tragic happened in my life. I love Dinko, he's the best. And the same people that upvote one are also upvoting the other because they don't fucking care. You don't care. You care about nothing. You have no standards. All you want is drama. All you want is a reason to post. That's the reality. As I've said many, many times, Reddit is the place where morons LARP as intellectuals. It is the most terminally online group of any social media website. It's truly, truly pathetic. And I can't wait for the site to die and get closed down and all the staff who work there to be arrested by a federal government investigation for all the fucked up shit that's gone on behind the scenes at that wretched company. But fingers crossed. Let's just watch that, right? Anyway, real subpar interviewing. There can be so much gleaned from that. Not that ass question. It was either that or You came really close but didn't make it. How's that feel? The only thing of value I've gotten from the interviews is that clip of Elias's answer to one of the inane questions. I mean, again, yes, all the questions are inane. It's an exit interview. It's not Frost Nixon. It's 3 quick questions. So you can say something before you're not in the tournament anymore. They're designed like that. Which isn't to say that you can't do a bad job at them. Patently you can. But they're not going to be like a sit-down, super in-depth, like, you know, it's just not going. You have here a mod. Good to know. Yeah, I was cringing at that post-game interview with Psycho. Machine needs to teach him a thing or two. That it is what it is was heartbreaking and heartwarming with the big words of the major. Reddit learnt those words and spammed those words over and over and over again. It was heartwarming at the end. Everything was heartwarming at the end. Everything was heartbreaking during the major. They learnt those 2 words. Well done. Pre-match interviews with Yakindar was so negative. Even Sponge and Machine commented on it. I'm gonna guess they actually didn't. They did our Aussie brothers wrong. It was sickening to watch. Interviewer was a douchebag. Dinko interviews have been shockingly bad, just baseless. We know what their future is, blah, blah. Who was the interviewer? Didn't watch. Just want to find out who to hate. I don't even think that clip is of Dinko, but Dinko certainly got lit up at various points. Then we have somebody wanted to make a more sustained thread about it. This big problem of the interviews at the major. Huge problem. This received tons of upvotes, so I don't want to hear about how these are fringe opinions. I'm sick of moron Redditors saying if something is upvoted, Reddit doesn't represent Reddit, apparently. It never represents Reddit. We can say whatever we want, upvote whatever we want, and it's not a representation of Reddit. That is what they always say. It's mad. But here we go. This was the big problem very early on. You know, we get a week into the major. Blast Paris major post-game losers interviews are poor journalism and borderline cringe. Well, of course, obviously, they're not journalism at all. I mean, they're only journalism in the very loosest sense that they are sort of keeping a real-time journal of historic events that happened. That's really what, you know, if you want to stretch it, sure. But anyway, most post-game interviewers are variants on, does it feel good to win? Does it feel bad to lose? No, but really it's the last major. Doesn't it feel even worse to lose? Do you think you played a good game? The losers' interviews are especially cringe when you have a person borderline in tears, right? And you are asking them these crappy questions. Unless you have a good set of questions to ask the losers, don't interview them. Ask them things like, let's see what a qualified genius has to say, after completely misrepresenting the questions that are asked, of course. You started to amass a comeback on map 1, but ultimately dropped the map. What do you think changed at the end there to contribute to that? You ended up picking a map that you normally don't. What sort of preparation did you have that made you pick it? Why do you think there was a very low conversion rate of man advantages in your second map? You think anyone wants to answer those questions about like tactical minutia after they've lost and got out of a tournament? You're more detached from reality than fucking the people that are criticizing basic exit interview questions like, why didn't you convert more gun rounds? Can you tell me more about that, perhaps? Yeah, they really want to fucking know that. So your suggestions absolutely suck, my friend. But anyway, you can see it's obvious interviewers should ask open-ended questions. By the way, does it feel good to win? No one asked that. That's a shit question, not what's asked. But you can have an open-ended answer to that. It's not just like yes or no, because if we were to do that and look at it as a binary, the answer would only be yes, right? People say, like, you know, obviously, what are you feeling? You know? And what are you feeling is an open-ended question. So, anyway, I cringe both when interviewers ask really long-winded, multi-sentence questions to non-native speakers and speaking to people who are clearly distraught and don't want to be there. Oh, okay, you'd like them to ask very simple, clear English questions. What about, how are you feeling after that loss? You cannot win with these fucking morons. Like, you absolutely cannot win. Like, they just don't understand what the fuck they're talking. Keep it simple. These questions are too simple. Like, what is it, dickhead? Like, which one? Like, but anyway, you can go through this entire thread. There's not a single, balance like, oh, okay, yeah, but they're exit interviews. And they're exit interviews with someone who's never done it before. And they're exit interviews with someone who's never done it before. And they have to be appropriate for people that maybe don't speak fluent English. And they've also got to be done in a time limit. Get in and out before we go back to the desk. There's none of that. There's no nuance. There's no, understanding of the craft. I just wish the interviews weren't such fucking dog shit. None of the questions are interesting, so none of the answers are interesting. Now I have to go to YouTube, to other places that do interviews off stream to find good answers. Oh, you mean the long form interviews? Different types of content? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do have to do that. That's like literally saying, wow, I saw a fucking TikTok clip of someone talking about this concept, and I have to go to YouTube or Spotify to find their podcast to actually listen to the full. Well, this is just ridiculous. It's the format, dummy. It's the fucking format. It's an exit interview. It's quick questions, you fucking cretin. It's so ridiculous. Most interviewers in this scene are practically NPCs. No offence intended. You clearly do intend offence. Their questions are literally basic and laughable. How does it feel to win? Just literally copied, by the way. Imagine, this is how dumb Redditors are. He said, you're just an NPC. No offence. Now let me copy something from the original post and present it as my own thought. Unbelievable. How do you expect them to feel? It's time for some genuinely intriguing questions. I eagerly await the day when interviews go beyond mundane oblivion NPC dialogue. Even worked in the NPC thing fucking twice. Anyway, blah blah. Banks usually does a good job. As we'll get to. Not so much this major, I noticed. Few little mistakes there. One or two. Anyway. Oh, in fact, look what's up next. This is the thread. Also very popular, it's got to be said. Banks caught on hot mic slams the modern CS player. Slams them. So whoever wrote that thread, oh wait, that's one of my crew. Yes, Avi, you cheat. You used clickbait language, didn't you little cunt? You used clickbait language to lure people in. I see you in the chat doing the little boomer. I know what you did. Last summer. BuzzFeed, Avi. But anyway, let's listen to the hot mic. Somebody DMCA'd the audio off the thing that Vondas, who was a Welsh guy on my Discord, who scrubbed the audio to make it listenable, right? Somebody DMCA'd that. So he put it on YouTube, because I have a suspicion who that somebody might be. Fuck it, I'll just say it, right? Banks was definitely asking people to delete it. I believe he approached Reddit mods, I got told, by people who would know, and I believe he approached HLTV to delete forum threads by people that would know. Definitely wasn't happy with this hot mic being out in the domain. And, I get it. It's never nice to get hot mic'd. It should never happen to you. What's interesting about this is this hot mic went out on the Go TV. So when you have the casters channel, so it didn't go out on the main broadcast. You had to be watching Go TV and you had to be, listening to the actual casters themselves. I've got a clip of it. I've got a clip of the phenomenon. He put it up. He polished up the audio so you can hear the whole thing. And then it got DMCA'd. So he was left with no choice except to put it on YouTube, where it's safer from being claimed, I believe. Good old YouTube to the rescue. He also added an appropriate thumbnail.
Pickums are finally taken for liquid. They've not had them around.
Why are players such fucking lazy cunts?
Now, he's asked a question there, and I'm trying to think how he got hot mic'd, right? I'm trying to think, because this entire segment is some of the most outrageous out-of-pocket shit I've ever said, but whatever. Here's the thing. He's not walking around with a Madonna mic on his head, right? Do you know what I mean when I say the Madonna mics? The little thin ones that go around your ear and you have a wire down your back and they come out here. And not a lav mic. A lav mic is a clip-on one you have here. These ones, I just call them Madonna mics. They go around your ear, super thin, super lightweight. They have the positive side of being very lightweight and not visible. They pick up beard noise and mouth noise pretty badly. Everything's up and down. But anyway, so yeah, he doesn't have one of those. Now, it's easy to get hot mic'd when you have a mic on your head the entire time. But Banks was doing mic interviews, right? So the mic that hot mic'd him was the one in his hand. And what's funny is What's funny is, if you've ever watched Banks' career, I've watched Banks' career. One of the things. Wait, did he still have a mic on his head? If it was a mic in his hand that's hot mic'd him, it's unbelievably outrageous. So he did have both. Okay, cool. So yeah, he's turned off the mic then, sat down in the green room, still got a mic on his head, and he's decided to share his views about players. And this is really interesting to me, because James Banks, right, is a guy who presents himself as I'm the player's talent, right? All the players love me. I'm James Banks. I'm one of them. They love me. He's literally said it in interviews. They love me because I'm one of their own. And when? Oh, okay. He said that, right? I believe it was in an eScore interview. Here, this is an interview. If you're not passionate about esports, it'll tear you apart. He says he's been a pro player since 2003. And you can see it's all gyms and muscles. And I've been playing Counter-Strike since 2003, trying to sort of obfuscate. I retired back in 2007. Now, if you know anything about James, you know that, like, calling himself a pro player will be stretching the definition of pro to breaking point. He played in like UK WCG qualifiers, and that's about it. He never played like any sport at like a high level. So I don't get why like we've retconned the history. Like you don't need to. You know, you've been around the scene as long as I have. You don't need to like retcon your history about things you did. This is why I've been like so out on him lately, because I can't stand, like, I don't know, there's just no need to lie. Like, there's no need for any of it. I don't understand why anyone would do this. Well, I do understand, but things like this would drive Thorin insane. Like, they don't bother me as much. They do make me question things you say, like whether I can trust you. But like this here. He's talking in a Reddit thread about why he's good at empathizing with players, right? And he says, to put it into context, I played in grand finals in 1.6 in Virtua Fighter 5. That isn't true. I was there. I remember him playing some qualifiers for Virtua Fighter 5. I remember meeting him at events when he would compete and got knocked out. But what 1.6 grand final did he ever play in? Like, there's none, right? None. And he says, I understand what that feeling of losing is like. And that is the point I was making. It isn't comparable to what they feel now. But for example, during WCG and when I got my second place silver medal, to feel like you came so close to not be able to take it over the line, I don't think that is what anyone could say. Now, you can look up all the WCG placements. So for Virtua Fighter, right, they're literally all like collected. Liquipedia and on Wikipedia, actually. This is the other thing that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm looking at the World Cyber Games, and he said he was a pro player between 2003 and 2007. And he said he played Virtua Fighter 5. And Virtua Fighter 5 is on the WCG in 2008, 2009. Like, just none of this makes any sense. Like, so, you know, it's like, it's so crazy for me because you could, you know, you're the player's player, right? You're like the player's player. But, like, you don't need to synthesize credentials, dude. Like, it's like, it's so crazy. And I've like alluded to it on stream before, but I just can't be arsed anymore. Like, I don't care. Like if he wants to message me and go, oh yeah, you made me look a right cunt. No. Fine, mate. I don't know. Like, I really have a hard time with people doing shit like this. Because the problem with, like, making up your history is you're taking someone else's away. That's the problem with it. And so it never sat right with me. And people just let this slide, by the way. You know, because, like, you would never let Thorin get away with this. You would never let me get away with this. But for some reason, we let other people get away with shit like this all the time. And it bothers me. It really does bother me. So anyway, so there's that. But yes, back to what he said on his hotline.
From finally take.
Right, let's watch it. We'll bring up Vondus's glorious video again. Because I reveled in this. I thought there's probably no one in the talent pool, by the way, whose public perception of who they are compared to who they are is so far removed. It was interesting.
Pickums finally taken for liquid. They've not had them around.
Why are players such fucking lazy cunts?
We're just going to focus on our shots.
Play our own game and suck a bunch of dick in this game as well.
So what he's doing here is he's saying that all players are lazy cunts. Like, players aren't lazy because you talk about how hard they work. Remember, you used to be a pro player, so you should know how hard they work. But anyway, they're lazy cunts because he doesn't like the interview questions he's getting when he's done an entire media tour in the build-up to this about how, all the empathy, I understand because my own experiences, you have to love what you do. And there he is, sat there calling players cunts because he doesn't like the answers they get, right? Anyway, and we get to suck a bunch of dick in the game. This is like me talking, right? This is what I mean. This is like, I have no problem with what he's saying. I think in many ways he's right. Hashtag James Banks was right. But the fact is, I can't imagine anyone else being allowed to get away with this and get away with this during a major on broadcast. But let's continue.
Yeah, I mean, you know Cadian's philosophy in these rounds, right? And that's that the rifles should be given a bit of room to play. And he doesn't like it when the pistols are the ones trying to be the playmakers. He's very much of the belief of, give the rifles a bit of room. For example, in this one, he's probably saying, let me try.
Now, what you didn't hear there was, and I'll just replay it, is some of you heard it because you've been trained to listen for it. He said that when he leaves the scene, I think, he said he wants to smash their heads in with a microphone. Which is weird thing to say. A joke, sure. A joke made in the green room, also true. But it's out now and it's public, and it's very hard for me to imagine if I said I wanted to smash a player's head in. Remember me, who has actually smashed a player's head in at DreamHack Hell in a Cell. Hard to believe I would be given any grace for this.
Give the rifles a bit of room. For example, in this one, he's probably saying, let me try work it with the AWP a bit. Let me try get this opener, because with every kill he gets, he's going to be arming his teammates, stripping away at Liquid.
This is good and bad, right? Because he's actually not full flanking, so it's more of a problem than it is a help. It leaves Naf alone at B.
He's not that.
He's a top mid.
They're just arseholes.
Naf's got to put.
They're just arseholes. He's still going. They're just arseholes. Players are just arseholes. But me, Mr. Empathy, love the players. James Banks is the best at interviews. I love players. I'm one of the players. I'm one of their own. Harry Kane, he's one of our own. But they're just arseholes. They're just arseholes. So, yeah, anyway. So this hot mic happened, and I'm like, well then, if there's one thing the community won't stand for, it's insulting players. Keep in mind, this was very unfortunate timing, because everyone was saying how great James Banks was again, when they fucking had this little clip, which I don't know why this is a thing.
I like it, Jal. Thank you very much, man. Good luck. And Jal, thank you very much for your support for Ukraine as well, man. Love. Nah, it's good, man. It's good. It's good.
Fuck, man.
What?
No interview coming up?
What?
I mean, you and Ukraine and the history behind it, like,
Yeah, man.
fuck, man.
It's life, we have to fight, we have to stay strong. Nah, you're a good big man. You're good. You're good.
Fuck, yeah, my girlfriend feel for you so much, like, fuck.
All right, well, listen, emotional times, emotional people, but the timing was so bad, right? The timing was so bad because obviously everyone's highly strung. Here's Banks, Mr. Empathy, he's doing like a JL's upset, and I don't know why anyone needs to see this though. I really don't know why this is a clip. Don't know why this would ever be put out. I'd feel a bit weird if it was me. People like. If someone said something to me that caught me off and I started crying and there were cameras there, I'd probably not want it out. But okay, it's fine, I guess. But anyway, so the timing was bad because, as we've established, Banks has slammed the modern player. He slammed the modern player in his hot mic. And surely, if there's one thing the community won't stand for, it's a man who may have been a bit liberal with some of his recollections. I think if you want to be fair about it, there's nowhere they'll stand for someone like that actually being proved to be a bit of a fake, and he actually doesn't like players. He doesn't like the players he hugs. He thinks they're all arseholes and lazy cunts, and fantasises about smashing their heads in with a microphone. Smash, smash, smash. That's what's going on. But no, actually it's okay, because it's not one of the bad people. He's one of the good people. So we can just ignore this and see. I think what he's saying is, now, by the way, there is no interpretation here, right? Like, it's just so cut and dry. He thinks players are lazy cunts and arseholes. He thinks their answers are bad, and he would like to jokingly smash their heads in with a microphone. That's it. We don't, but no. What I think he meant to say was, all right, well, let's get into the deep dive. I think what he's saying is he thinks players are lazy, jokingly, I presume, because they always give the same answers, like we just focus on hitting our shots. And then he says he wants them to be assholes and say stuff like, I want to bash their heads in, obviously joking. That's not what he said. The audio proves that, but that's fine. We'll just completely invent that. Then I did notice, because we were talking about this during a stream, there was just a round of banks, a massive round of banks in the chat, by the way. There was a massive round of banks. The most banks I've ever seen in Reddit history. Just so you can see, just so many banks. I'm willing to bet much crazier shit has been said in the green room, lol. Given the fact he's talking to someone they seem to be joking, I'm not really bothered. Yeah, I'm sure if Duncan said something outrageous in the green room, you certainly wouldn't care about that. It's interesting, though, isn't it? When Thorin said, I think Fallen is the most overrated player of all time, that was worth death threats, abuse, and being blacklisted from the scene. An interviewer saying, all players are cunts, and I would like to smash their heads in with a microphone, lol. That was deemed to be worth covering fire for. It's kind of interesting. I think this is hilarious. Guys, it's fine. He's British. He can say cunt. You've missed the point, Blue Shark, mate. You missed it by some distance. Dude's tilted he's not going to get his diamond coin. Another reason why Pickums are awful. That's the level of discourse around it. Before moderators removed this thread because it had been deleted on a number of occasions before they brought it back. They obviously had to have the little internal debate. Oh, what are we going to do? It's been noticed. What we're doing has been noticed. We're playing favourites and it's been noticed. So they had to put it out. People brought up the red eye stuff. It's hilarious in a way because if you remember, Banks was the guy that got red eye by saying he's a bully and a tyrant. Spoiler, red eye was a bully and a tyrant. No one's disputing that. Maybe not quite as bad as James Banks made out though. And actually, if you're gonna say to people, like, listen, we don't want bullies and bad people in our scene, and then you get Hot Mike saying, I hate the people I interview and would love to smash their heads in with a microphone. I don't know, like there is some sort of fucking delicious, the ironing is delicious a little bit there, I think. So it's fine. It sounds like he's talking to someone and just joking around. Remember, when Thorin jokes, they're bad. But when Banks jokes, it's good. I doubt he's being super serious, what he's saying here. Hopefully not serious at all. And just bantering. Unfortunate it went live. Yeah, it really is. I agree that answers are just the same lazy ones uttered by every pro. So, spoiler, when Dinko asks a shit question, the questions are the problem. When the same shit question asked by Bank, the answer, the pros are the problem. Remember the pros that need to be left alone and not fucked with? Crazy. The power of Banks right there. This is why hot miking is a cardinal sin. Shame on them. He's not wrong. Pros do nothing besides whine about doing media when it's literally an outlet that's being used to grow their brand. Yeah, like it is when Dinko does the interviews. All right, okay, my bad. Banks. Nice edit. Thank you for the edit of Banks. Some more Banks and the round of Banks occurred. Can somebody explain why people hate Banks? They objectively don't. Everyone loves Banks. He works every esports event in every esport in the calendar forever, while also representing Bad News Eagles Alliance, Navi Nation, and fuck knows who else. Other measures, by the way, that were taken against other members of talent, that you couldn't have these clear conflicts. But okay, fine, not a problem. This doesn't bother me. What do players say in interviews anyway? Yeah, good question. More round Banks. Strong uptake for Banks. There you go. There's so many people in the comments excusing this, when if it was Richard Lewis, Thorin Henry G, or any other figure the community is deemed undesirable, there would be a mob wanting their heads. Yeah, it is weird, isn't it? But it's Banks, so his persona is protecting him. Maybe it's because context matters. I agree. Context, this is my Twitter feed, not an official broadcast. Context, this is my personal stream, not an official CSGO major broadcast. Anyway, despite the fact that people at the event were telling me, yeah, Banks was really mortified about it, as you would be. And by the way, hot miking is still a horrible thing to have happen to anybody, no matter who you are. There was no consequences, no follow-up, and the community were just largely okay with it. Apart from one person. We did get the first ever Banks hate thread, didn't we? We did get that in CSGO. which was, of course, done through the lens of, my God, isn't OJ the best? And this was because Banks went out and screamed a few times. And I've got to be honest, his stage hosting, when it comes to bring the hype, that's one of the parts it's very hard to do. Using your voice and learning how to scream can happen to the best of us. I remember at E-League Boston when Golden Boy blew his voice out. Can happen to anybody. And sometimes if you're gonna have a scream, you gotta have. If you've been using your voice all the time, it can just go. And it's happened a couple of times to James, where you get that vocal fry and you shred it out. But anyway, because of that, we ended up with a whole thread about how OJ's goated. And then it was basically OJ Borg's, not OJ Simpson, by the way, in case anyone was confused. OJ never hosted a CSGO major or a CSGO event, nor would you want him to, particularly if you were his estranged wife. But anyway, point being, you can see like everyone talking about how great he is, and that's nice because we all miss OJ Borg. If you want to learn more about what he's doing now, there's a not too distant Richard Lewis show with him. You can go look it up. So anyway, that was all. Those were the consequences for a hot mic, one of the worst hot mics that's ever happened. Now, on top of that, what else did we get? Well, as you can imagine, because the major is terrible and everything terrible ever had to happen at the major, what did we get? Well, we got Forze and Monte had to play each other in a best of one. And of course, just in case you've been living under a rock, right now is not a great time for Russian, Belarusian and Ukrainian into competition. Lots of strong feelings, let's say, for obvious reasons. And so that naturally happened. The appropriate behavior when you compete is just ignore any of that peripheral shit, keep it professional, don't acknowledge each other, and just go on about it. And we've already seen in the build-up to this, one of the reasons allegedly why the stickers were delayed was that Monte wanted to work in like Glory to the Ukraine or some bullshit, and then Valve obviously didn't want that, even though, pro-Ukraine slogans don't seem as bad in the context of what's happening, but then people say we don't want it to be political, and you made it political, and it's a nightmare. But of course, Forza and Monte had to play each other, and what you don't do if you're in that game is say anything inflammatory afterwards. Now, that isn't what happened because this is esports and everyone's super unprofessional. And I was very surprised, actually, to see there were no action taken against any party after this incident. This is it here. Jerry started it. He went out and said, GG versus our opponent at Major. We're 2-1 in the pool now. Think time of radar from Akuma has gone, right? Dem QQ. Now, one of the things that I've talked about is it was very hard to root for Monte this event. I like the idea of Monte. I like the idea that an upstart org who's grinded hard, worked down there in Tier 2 with talent that's been rejected by Tier 1 is coming through and showing Tier 1 how it's done. I also do get sucked into the romantic idea of in a time of war, an organization emerges to make us think about things more important than killing each other and, just how ridiculous humans are. I like it all. I like the romantic notion about it. Deep down, I am a romantic. But let's not overlook the fact that Monte has fucking Weird Clip Warro 2K and, of course, Dem QQ. I'm utterly convinced that Akuma team, radar hacked, you can't tell me any different. You don't go from being fucking 200th in the world to suddenly beating Gambit, beating Na'Vi, neutralizing Simple. So, yes, Dem QQ probably did use a radar cheat and he had a bad game here. But it's not like Monte played bad and Monte went further in the tournament than Forza. So, Jerry, you made yourself look like a cunt. But also, just don't type anything, mate. You've got to understand how high the tensions are. And Jerry's out of pocket here. And by the way, he was still in the tournament. And by the way, Blast should have took some action here. And they should have said, we've taken some action here. I don't know what it could have been. It could have been just a warning. It could have been a prize purse deduction. Could have been, but they had to have a statement out. Right? But then what happened was Dem QQ replied, I think you have to write on RMR something. I forgot. You put your mouth in your ass. I'm guessing something lost in translation there. And then Monte Esports, the official organization competing at a major with stickers in the game, said in Putin's asshole because it's in their blood, meaning Russians, to lick the Tsar's ass. Now, lots of ass licking going on here. And listen, obviously, there's fucking history here. I've said, before all of this shit, you have to understand this was fractious, right? It's a part of the world that has had centuries of fucking, battling and fighting and frictions and all that. Who the fuck are we to talk about who should get along with who through that lens of history, right? I've said that a billion times. But what I will also say is you're in a motherfucking esports tournament and we're not meant to be doing any of this shit here, right? You don't have to shake their hands. You don't have to do a nice congratulatory tweet. You don't have to acknowledge their existence. You've said you won't in interviews. All of that's fine. But when you do something like this in a major, you should get sanctioned. Of course, it didn't get sanctioned. The tweet got deleted. No more came of it. But I was like, wow, this is embarrassing, frankly. That's embarrassing. I think that's embarrassing. I think that's cringe. I don't want to see shit like that at the major, frankly. And it would be the same for anything. Anyway, that wasn't the dumbest tweet. Jake Lucky. Remember Jake Lucky? Jake Lucky was working. A man who would never put his tongue in Putin's asshole. It's not in his blood to lick the Tsar ass. But Jake Lucky did a tweet, a stupid tweet, and one that really bothered me and bugged me, and you're going to go, oh, Richard, you're just picking on him. No. You do have to hear me out, guys. These are the thoughts of someone that really still, even though, oh, you're a miserable man, you're bitter, you're just sad you don't get to do the majors anymore. CS will always be my first love in esports, and I still take the majors seriously, and I think everybody else should too, right? So, here's what I don't want to see. Jake Lucky did this tweet, right, before going to work a Valve major. I don't know why I'm showing the archive. I don't think he's deleted it. But it was a clip, right, of everyone's favourite screaming moron, Pixel, opening a case, and he got back-to-back gold odds on his stream, which was being watched by, I don't know, 45,000, 50,000 people, because he is now the face of Counter-Strike streaming, because the average CS fan is a joke. So, Jake Lucky going to work a Valve event, literally working the major, literally closing out the major, says, CSGO streamer Pixel just opened back-to-back golds in CS. The odds of this are 1 in 160,000. Valve knows exactly what they're doing. Crying with laughter emoji. He has just accused Valve of breaking laws that would have unbelievable ramifications. He said Valve has rigged a case opening for a streamer to encourage more kids to buy cases. That's what he said before going to work a Valve event. I take it back. I thought Jake Lucky was a pussy. His balls are fucking massive, mate. His balls are the size of my head. I couldn't even dream of saying something that outrageous about a games developer and then expect to, just waltz in to a job. Never. No way. But apparently, absolutely fine. Not a problem. That is an unbelievably serious allegation. And if you think, oh, yeah, Richard, you're just picking on him. No. Anyway, we did have some tech problems which were deleted off the Reddit. There was a couple of these. I mean, I won't bore you by giving you a ton of examples. But I think one of the things that I didn't really talk about was the overall production quality. And while I think Blast avoided a lot of tech problems, there certainly were some tech problems. I noticed there were some audio issues. I noticed that the sound mix wasn't correct. Well, not correct, but it wasn't up to the usual Blast standards. This is something they addressed specifically, and they said, oh, it's because we're not allowed to put mics in the crowd. The bottom line is, compared to almost any major, I mean, the last, however, I don't know how far back you need to go. You might actually have to go back to E-League. This was pretty well done by the sort of standards that we allow to slip. The transmission was going in and out. That was one thread that got deleted. And again, I don't know if it looks like it got deleted by the users. I won't ascribe naughtiness to the moderators. But this was the type of thing people were complaining about. There was lots of complaints along these lines as we got into the tournament, particularly when we got into the stadium. You can see Blast transmission going blank for a few seconds every game. Thought it was just my TV dying, lol. There was lots of little bits like this. It wasn't bad enough to ruin the whole event overall, unlike Dinko's interviews. I do want to, just to bring up the exit interviews again, I want to show you the worst exit interview. We're fast forwarding in time a little bit. This is why it's a little bit fucked up. Because I said it was roughly chronological, but let's just put all the exit interview stuff to bed before we get into the stuff in the stadium and whatnot, right? And so this was a comment from somebody who works at Blast, Joseph Hawkins, post-production manager of Blast Premier, right? So, and he said, and there's, by the way, what a picture of Nico. There he is, old Choco, out of the tournament, gone again, G2. By the way, how did my take about fucking Hooxi and G2H today, dickhead? Oh, yes. Right again. It'll never get old being right, by the way, guys. Just enjoy it. You had those few weeks, didn't you, where you could convince yourself. Now he's not, now he's out. What you going to do now? Who's the next Giga Chad now? And by the way, you'll notice many analysts, not just Kassad, not just Yanko, they're sort of waking up to the fact that, yeah, Hooxi has to carry some of the blame, something that was completely verboten when I was saying it, but suddenly now will become mainstream opinion. Head of the curve, that's me. But anyway, this picture of Nico, is Nico looking sad? It really is. Like, I've got to say, I thought Nico handled his exit interview like a pro, and it's an example for all other pros out there. Yes, no matter how sad you're feeling, you can still go out, be professional, give professional answers, give something worth it for the fans, as Nico did. And so for some reason, a guy who works at Blast is the broadcast that's doing this to Nico. They said, imagine what it must be like to drop out of the final CSGO major and immediately have more cameras and microphones shoved in your face. And it's like, yeah, imagine, right? And so what I don't understand is he's working the Blast, an event that's been doing that, and he's criticising HLTV for doing what Blast are doing as part of their broadcast. And so somebody murked this guy in the chat. Like, you know, it's one of those, like, call 911 right now. Don't worry, I won't do it. I won't do the soundboard. Here it is. This is the other interview they hired, the Danish dude that I'd never seen before. And this is how he ended the interview after Ents went out of the tournament.
Thank you so much for joining us here, Snappy. Have a great day, hopefully.
Yeah, probably not going to have a great day, actually. Probably definitely not going to have a great day. Actually, probably going to have a great day. The worst of days. Just today. Sure, I'll bounce back. But really weird, right? Really weird. And, you know, obviously Blast are criticising HLTV for that. That's worse. That's objectively worse. But I did notice nobody posted this clip to Reddit and lost their mind, because it turns out Dinko is actually the bad guy, not this dude. Incredible. Anyway, back to the fucking chronological order. Oh, yeah, there was this. Now, again, I was talking about, like, the overall standard at the major, and just saying, you know, like, how, like, maybe some players aren't playing particularly, like, at 100%. There was one clip I saw. It made it to the front page of the subreddit. The fucking clip was just, the thread rather of the clip was so full of copium, saying that this is actually a hard shot. They're the hardest shots to hit, the way the game works. If you try and shoot somebody as they're crouching from behind, it's impossible to kill them and stuff like this. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't actually believe it.
Sometime, and he falls eventually.
Yeah, in spite of everything that Rops did. Oh, the bomb! That's where the shot's going, Brokey! Oh no! Your Rancho comes in with the P250 and blows him up. Firing blanks down from the stairs.
Firing blanks indeed. Something we know Anders doesn't do. So yeah, pretty ridiculous. But yeah, everyone was talking about the wonderful high standards of these games. That was the example of the type of play that we got to see in those games. I don't know why. That clip was highlighted as especially bad for me, because remember, Brokey, statistically, one of the best players. Then we had the thread, the ultimate thread, the most triggering of threads for everybody. When G2 went out of the major, people actually woke up to the fact that, first of all, this wasn't a particularly good major. Second of all, the teams aren't playing particularly well. And third of all, and most crucially of all, G2 have now flopped at 2 majors. One they failed to qualify, one they failed to get to the later stages with one of the best cores in the world. And so, obviously, someone has to shoulder that blame. And here it is, a thread. The thread I never thought I would see. Richard Lewis was right. How's your major today, dickhead? And you know, this thread, it didn't get as high up as some of the others, but it did do well for itself. 973, 83% upvoted. People were chiming in. Of course, people wanted to argue about how I wasn't right? I do approve of this. They've gone and Hooxed it. That's pretty good. There's a modern SUVs in there. Shout out to the NMC. I get shat on every time I even imply this, but yeah, we have Heroic and Vitality playing good CS at the moment. Absolutely correct. Not even G2 were playing good CS by the time the major rolled around. And you can probably say it's arguable about Vitality, although to be fair, Dupree stepped it up, Apex stepped it up enough, and Ziwu went Super Saiyan. G2 were outplayed, outcalled, and able to perform under pressure. It's not like Monte and Fnatic fluked it. They deserved it 100%. Being shit means you don't deserve the major playoff. Well, who knew? I didn't even know you could call G2 shit. Incredible. Pretty good to know for future. The low IQ in this thread hurts my head. Beans, shout out to another NMC viewer. He was 100% right. Yes, he was. Yes, the circuit needs to be opened up. Their milk doesn't taste very good. Dickheads in shambles. What about today? Quips from the casters. By the way, can I just explain this? Can I go to Big Head? And I just want to explain this on Big Head, because people don't seem to realise the reason why you will hear all your favourite casters, and loads of them do it, and loads of them have done it with my stuff for ages. But the reason you hear your favourite casters, Freya on the desk, you know, like analysts when they're slipping a segment in Maui Snake, you know, Maniac. The reason they're doing the what about today reference is because when fans are wrong and objectively wrong, they just get to slither away, zero stakes in the game. They post about G2 will win the major and Richard will choke on Hooxi's balls, you know, comments like that. They're never anywhere to be found when it turns out that I was right. They're never there. And it's the same for every analyst. It's the same for every person involved in Counter-Strike. And so when I made that clip, and trust me, I didn't know it was going to become a thing. It was just a funny little thing. I do funny things on the stream all the time, don't I? You know, let's have a look who's told a lie today, that kind of thing, right? The analysts and all of that stuff have wanted to do that to these dickhead fans for so long that me doing it was cathartic for everyone else. And people literally watch that clip to get fucking pumped up if they want to do like a little critique. I've like Moses is telling me, he's like playing it in the green room. What about today, dickhead? And it's just a thing, like, it's so juvenile and over the top, but it's so deserved. It's what you want to do to every arsehole fan, and I was just the only guy petty enough to do it, right? And so when even Freya is going, well, what about today when a team goes out in a tournament? That's why. Because fans are insufferable, and they can never admit they're wrong, even when they're objectively wrong. So that's why it's a thing. Anyway, so there was, some more stuff here. Substack man strikes again. I've been saying this for years. Yeah, no one was saying this for years. G2 were frauds all along. What about today, dickheads? So this was nice. This was a little bit of a day of vindication. You go further down, there's people going, Richard Lewis wasn't right. Because whenever G2 won, he would just say, well, they'll lose at some point. Never said that, by the way. Said they're winning at the moment. I expect them to win the major. The great thing about being a hater is that when someone eventually loses, you can turn around and say, oh, they were never good. The truth is that nobody says, what about yesterday, dickhead? Yeah, that wouldn't work, would it? So you can keep waiting and preying on a team's downfall. Here, let me tell you, speaking to you as a pleb fan, I agree. The great thing about being a hater is you can always wait for someone to eventually lose, like you do with every personality in the scene, like you do for me, where I can have 10 years of immaculate contribution to the scene to help carve out something that we can all enjoy. But this time you've said something I didn't like on a broadcast, so you must be cast out. This time someone tried to punch you when you defended yourself, so you must be cast out. You tweeted out that you jokingly said a YouTuber can't be as nice as what they are. That's too much. You deserve to be cast out. So in other words, yes, the thing about being a hater is this is every one of you losers on the internet. You wait until someone has their worst day or does something you don't like, and then you hit them with the lost all respect, as if I don't tessellate perfectly with you, I'm a bad person. Well, fuck you. You're the bad person, and also, you're boring, mate. There's no risk-taking with you, so fuck off. What about today, dickhead? So there was that. Richard Lewis was right. I thought the whole saga with the exit interviews was over. Wrong. There was this gem was produced later on down the road. Obviously, we've had the smash their heads in gate. We've had Banks gate at this point. But look at this one. A plea. Dear Blast, please give some time for players to process being eliminated from the tournament before you interview them. I'm watching Nico's interview, and this interview is fucked. They just got eliminated from the last CSGO major, and right away they grabbed Nico. By the way, spoiler, they didn't grab Nico. Nico volunteered to elaborate on how it feels. Why not grab the winners first and the losers later? This is kind of unprofessional. I don't know why there's this obsession on this subreddit to live vicariously through players and project their own insecurities on them. This is one of you. Unprofessional? No, not at all. Correct. By the way, as I said, Nico's interview was really, really good. And he said crazy shit. He said, I didn't deserve to win a major in CSGO, personally. And I was like, yeah, wow, holy shit. Very sober interview. Very on point. Most people did a 180. You can see down here, more people were like, agree. Just because it's common practice in traditional sports doesn't make it okay. Just because someone is being paid more than you doesn't mean you can kick down on them and think they should just suck it up. They still deserve to be asked better questions. Yes, orgs consent, in air quotes, to these interviews and are contractually obligated to do it, but it doesn't mean the players like to do it. You aren't necessarily going to die on this hill when negotiating your contract, but it doesn't mean this practice is good. See point 1. It goes on. I don't know, a lot of you here sound very entitled, just because Nico is paid lots of money and like to feed off this kind of emotional reaction porn. Just go and watch some reality TV. For fuck's sake. I don't enjoy watching these types of interviews. He just called you out for being entitled. Now, we mustn't do things this person doesn't enjoy. The ultimate entitlement. You see how Redditors are just so fucked that they start typing and they immediately become the fucking thing they hate within 2 sentences. It's incredible. Every time. If you want to see how Nico feels, he can share it when he feels like it. Why is everyone here fucking shaming OP for having empathy and calling them soft? This is some real toxic shit. Sad. So yeah, they were still complaining. Obviously G2 went out. We had to complain about the interviews because Nico had to do one. So won't somebody think of the 20-something millionaire? I didn't. People were coming in with... It's incredible. I think Hooxi's going to maintain his Giga Chad status. I actually think he's going to, even, he's going to probably be removed from G2. And this era of G2 is only going to be remembered at we did get that Blast tournament in Katowice, I suppose. We hadn't won anything in 5 years. But, I think he's going to maintain his Giga Chad status. Do you know why I think that? People were still downvoting threads pointing out how bad he'd sort of played individually and giving full copium answers. This is it. Hooxi stat for the past 3 months. If you click on it, these are Hooxi stats, right? This is the visual... This is the visual interpretation of the Hooxi line, right? Remember, Hooxi, there is zero chance he improves as a player. He's never going to be better than this, right? He's 27. He's never been good. He's known for being an IGL. That's what he's meant to bring to the team. There's an argument he doesn't even need to be good to play in a team like G2, okay? But you can see here, rating, 0.8. Impact, 0.7. Average damage around, 57. He gets half a kill. Kill per round. Half a kill. And this is for 3 months. This is sustained. So this is the Hooxi line. What you have to understand is, as I've been saying for a long period of time, there are players, incredibly, that play worse than him. Many of them. And if you have someone in your team below the Hooxi line, you can never win anything. You will never be good. Hooxi is the floor of what an acceptable pro can do. And people are starting to wake up to that. But instead, what they decided to do was they actually were running defense for Hooxi. I was like, wow, still. Usually what this community does is they love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. You can do no wrong, do no wrong, do no wrong. Then they shit all over you the minute it's convenient for them to do so. That's every esports community. CS in particular loves doing that to people. But You can see, look, this feels like scapegoating. Top comment. It's always the HLTV stat page after a loss. Jake Lucky post in there, crying with laughter. Oh, actually, that's just crying. That's just floods of tears. He's calling, and his strats have been good this major. I still think he's the best fit for this G2 roster. It's hard to pinpoint the exact problem with G2, but I doubt that Hooxi playing better would have changed much for this major. Can't help but feel it would have made a difference. Like, can't help but feel. You mean if my player that played dog shit played not dog shit, it wouldn't have made any difference? That's interesting. I'm kind of sad they couldn't bring their November-February form into the major. Yeah, it was weird. When they didn't have that break and everyone else did, they looked even better, didn't they? Crazy. However, with that being said, I don't expect many changes from any team with CS2 round the corner. Utter nonsense. There's going to be a deluge of roster changes. They've already started. The informed CS fan, of course. 70% T-side win rate on Inferno equals unimpressive calling. Yeah, that notoriously hard T-sided map. Inferno, ladies and gentlemen. G2 Flare, of course. The only IGL who has the right to be blamed and insulted for every single one of his team's failure is Apex. Vitality Flare. How's your opinion on Apex today, dickheads? Fantastic, isn't it? Saw loads of people saying Apex had to be kicked. Then, of course, and he should have been. He was playing like shit. They get the easiest major they'll ever get in their lives against trash opposition. And he goes to the crowd, fuck you, for all the people who criticised me. No self-reflection whatsoever from a pro player. Whatever. People loved it. Shit in my face more, please, Apex. Brilliant. You gotta love it. Gotta love this scene. When Na'Vi went out, we also got, again, these are the great opinions. We had a bunch of threads about Simple. This sort of encapsulates it. Hilariously, mods were removing these. Simple is the problem. The best player of all time is the problem. Simple is the problem. On the surface, he looks like a changed to a nice guy. But deep down, he still is really toxic. He said on stage he would stay with his real friends, win or lose. But reality is SDY gone, Boomich gone, new team underperforming. SDY win versus Na'Vi Waro 2K is right with his criticism. You could also tell he was toxic towards SDY after they lost and blamed him for it. Simple is the problem. True if real. New pasta just dropped, and then the mod swooped in to stop that getting too embarrassing. Good to know. Always do like it when the sidekicks turn up and tell you everything you need to know about players. We also had, just to follow on from the Richard Lewis's right thread, one place you're never going to see that, HLTV. But there it was. Richard Lewis on top. There's an image that'll keep you up at night. Richard Lewis on top, and it's 2 tweets that I put out just saying, you know, blah, 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 blah. What about today, dickhead, etc. Don't understand. And you can see he was always shit-talking Hooxi, saying how bad he is and that he shouldn't be on a top team, laughing at him and talking bad in general, acting like a complete child, crazy that he's a grown man. I'm not even allowed to say players are bad. That's being a man-child. Pretending that they're good in a sport that you thought, that's maturity. I don't know. Fantastic. But anyway, you can go and find that thread. It's out there, preserved in the annals of history. I think there was there another one? Yeah, here we go. Another one on HLTV. This isn't so much a major review, but a Richard Lewis opinion review. Richard Lewis was right. G2 was overrated and Hooxi is bad. He was also right about G2 never achieving anything. Then somebody comes in and says they won 2 trophies, and then these 2 people argue forever till the page breaks about how my hyperbolic statement, never achieving anything, is being taken literally when everyone else would be given the grace of it being a clear exaggeration, to which they argue about until literally the page smashes itself. So, Ninjas in Pajamas went out the tournament as well, which prompted one of the strangest threads I've ever seen. Just to show you, CS fans are morons. They cannot be redeemed. So Ninjas in Pajamas go out, right, of the tournament. What thread would you make if you were upset, right? Well, this guy made a thread called Ninjas in Clowns. Right, now obviously, what he should have gone for there is clowns in pajamas. Ninjas in Clowns? would mean you've brought in a group of clowns. You've said, sorry, clowns. This has been coming for a while. Drop those oversized comedic trousers you wear. And then those, totally imaginary, so it's okay to talk about fictitious clowns, get penetrated by a bunch of entirely fictitious, so it's okay to talk about ninjas in a video game in Minecraft. Then those ninjas would indeed be in the clowns. But instead, the just obvious one is ninjas in pajamas, clowns in pajamas, because then the people in the pajamas, the ninjas, they're not ninjas. The players that are meant to be ninjas in pajamas, they are now clowns in pajamas. Clowns wear pajamas a lot of the time. People probably don't know that. You think that's a clown costume, it's just pajamas. The clowns are not having a good time. They just roll out of bed. Notoriously lazy. Ask Banks. He's got opinions about clowns. So yeah, that was a terrible thread. Don't even know where that came from. Lots of talk about the underdogs keep winning. This thread obviously didn't get upvoted. Thankfully, there's some sanity. But imagine typing this and posting it to a public place. Is anyone else disappointed with Pickums right now? What do you mean? What the Pickums? They took too long to come out, or the stickers aren't very good, or you don't get much of a reward? Look, I understand that we're supposed to get it right, yada yada. But like every team that was supposed to advance didn't. Like something was throwing them off how they usually play. What I'm trying to say is, why did all the good teams play like absolute dog shit and ruin my Pickums? This is another reason, by the way, why Pickums have to be removed from the game. Just have to be taken out. They've turned everyone into a moron. I saw people arguing about this. I did my article and I said I had objectively seen people unironically suggest that if you work in CS, if you're an analyst and you don't get a diamond coin, I have unironically seen people go, you have a bronze coin, you have some coin, you can't even get gold, why should you be an analyst? As if accurately predicting the future is what analysts are supposed to do. And people were going, no one's ever said that ever. What? Like, all the time. Just go look at fucking anything Thorin tweets, by the way. Literally pro players are mocking him for getting the coin. Now, here's the funny part. This event, only 0.3% of people got a diamond coin. And think about how much of a moron you would have to be to get a diamond coin in this instance. You would literally have to be... The only people who got diamond coins, I guarantee you, are the people who know nothing about Counter-Strike and randomly picked it because they just wanted to join in, right? But here's the thing. If 0.3% of people who participate in Pickums got it, that's it. You're all morons now. You can never call... Just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up about Pickums. As if there's some sort of metric of like some deep understanding of the game or the scene. Especially when players can't even be asked to fucking practice half the time and turn up to majors like, well, got my sticker money anyway, and just dizzle their way through it. Like, just nonsense. And a garbage format. We're best of ones in it. What do you want me to do? But so yeah, I'm disappointed with the Pickums and everyone who won't shut the fuck up about Pickums. As we started powering towards the end of the major, people started to realise that we weren't really watching it. But the overall sense of euphoria wouldn't allow any sort of critique of the major to sort of come through. And this is why people were like, Richard Lewis is so negative. It's like, no, it just wasn't a very good major. Like, I don't know what people want to say. The results weren't very good. The games weren't very good. The standard wasn't very good. The storylines weren't very good. The only thing that was good really was the crowd. Fair enough, they did well. Yeah, but we have to let them cheat, so okay. They did stop after a final warning. Blah, blah, blah. Who gives a fuck? It was just a very, very tepid, mediocre event. This person made a thread. This major sucks. I don't know, guys. This major being the last one, being spelt bees, like Vitality, the bees, not the bees, being the last one on CSGO before CS2 releases, it feels so shit. What do you think? I think you're a fucking idiot, said Silver Balls on my chest. It's one of the better ones. This major is awesome. I love Into the Breach. So, okay. This is so petty to include this, but I think we've established that sometimes when I'm petty, I do my best work. I've talked a lot about, certain players and how they refuse to develop and refuse to be mature and refuse to accept responsibility. And so I've been very vocal about how much of a prick I think Config is, and how, honestly, I can't believe he keeps getting chances, especially as, obviously, it does relate to my own personal story in esports and how I've been harassed and abused because, I supposedly attacked somebody at an event when, of course, I didn't do that. I was the victim, but by defending myself, I was bad. Config was the aggressor at an event, came off worse, and basically he gets to be the hero. Everyone says, wow, it's so bad what happened to him. He broke his leg. Oh, no, he should get a second chance, blah, blah, blah. By the way, he said he was giving up alcohol and he was going to, get cognitive behavioral therapy and do all these things to improve, and he just wanted a second chance. And Nip picked him up on a year contract, after he said all that stuff out of fucking his 4 teammates in Astralis out of a major. And then he was out in Malta, just fucking jugs of beer, same place where all the bullshit happened. Literally, everyone knows when you're around from ESL Pro League, you're just in Pascherville. You're just there. So apparently that's fine. Then when they went out of the tournament, by the way, Config didn't play particularly well. What was it he said in the interview? Well, he said, we did not trust the players and only trusted the strat book. We did not, did we? We did not trust the players and only trusted the strat book. Obviously, the strat book, of course, is made by the IGL, which is Alexi B. And, he didn't play particularly well, if you remember. In fact, I think, no, they don't show the stats here. But, yeah, he didn't play particularly well at all. And yet he went in an interview and said, wow, we trusted the strat book too much, meaning, in other words, we weren't letting the players make plays and individual stuff. And it got picked up on. And, of course, everybody on Reddit was defending him. Config's a super nice guy. Yeah. He just won't take personal responsibility ever for anything. He obviously put out a tweet, usually a bad idea. And you can see how he tried to sort of explain it away. He went with this. He went with my interview with HLTV was, of course, what I felt in the moment, and it is what happened. We chose the easy way out to play set rounds and not actually play the game. It isn't Alexi's fault. It's on everyone. We crumbled as a team. We rise and fall as a team. He said after giving an interview blaming the IGL for the failure of NIP. He's someone who'll just never learn. There is no improvement for him. It's never going to happen. There's no late spurt of maturity. He's just that guy right now. People are just going to have to accept it. He's just that guy now. And again, listen, remember, this is the guy saying, the big, huge impact star saying, we trusted the playbook a bit too much. Well, let's have a look at your stats in that game. All right, okay, I see. You were there just above Rez, were you? Even fucking Brollan, a man who's just missing an action, was doing better than you, were they? You got absolutely fucking manhandled by Apex, of course. Not a problem. Not a problem, guys. Of course, we had the complete ridiculous reaction to this. Remember, obviously, G2 go out of the tournament. Kassad, personal friends with Nico, had some things to say. Kassad wasn't working the broadcast, wasn't asked to do it. I don't think he does blast stuff for whatever reason. Don't think they like him very much. But he does do ESL every now and then, but generally he's doing his own thing. Remember, he was a former coach. Did used to be, by the way, one of the most recognized coaches in World Counter-Strike. I think he got Renegades to a semi-final at a major, did really well with Mouse, all of that stuff. Anyway, he had his views, and he said, I was watching Hooxi. Now, this is a specific reference to Hooxi screaming, are you watching Kassad? Are you watching Kassad when they won at Blast at the World Championships or whatever? And so he said, yes, I was watching. I was watching you ruin Nico's chance to win the major. Now take responsibility and leave. And listen, that's... Yeah, I mean, listen, I've said it myself, and people said it was a ridiculous point. I don't know. I think part of being a leader is when a project fails, you sort of have to say, maybe my leadership isn't good enough. I mean, that's how you get to sort of continually be a leader in that, is acknowledging when you've had leadership failings. But no, of course, that's not what happens generally in esports. In fact, what usually happens is somebody else has to lose their job to give the person who is to blame a second life. Well, the Reddit thread for this is absolutely ridiculous. This is Kassad tweet blaming Hooxi, but it's a G-Man speech. I don't even know if that... Can I even play that?
I was watching Hooxi. I was watching you ruin Nika's chances to win the major. Now take responsibility and leave.
Spooky. But yeah, so somebody did that. There is the G-Man. But anyway, back to the thread. It's all G2's players' fault, right? Okay, of course it is. JKS did everything he could. The JKS fandom will never... It's just there immediately. Like, it's actually insane. It never ceases to amaze me how this player, like, just enjoys this, like, unbelievable support for no reason. Absolutely zero reason at all. But I want to actually check. I didn't even look at the stats. He's played above his average. He's rated at 1.14 across 7 maps. Nico's the only player on G2 above him. I think, fair enough. Fair comment. JKS had a good major. Fair enough. Anyway, I mean, obviously, largely that was predicated on how well he played in their last series, where he was God mode, but he was pretty ordinary in other games. First it was Carrigan, then it was Olaf and Coldzera, then it was Kenny, then it was Amanek, then it was Jax and Alexi B. Now it's Hooxi. Who's going to be the next scapegoat? Says Centurion Aurelius, someone who thinks Zipnik should still be in Astralis, no doubt, based on his flair. I don't know, mate. I don't know. The fucked up thing is as well, they're saying it like G2 have had a revolving door policy. If memory serves me correct, haven't they had like 3 IGLs in 3 years? That's like pretty good, actually, for most teams. This is genuinely fucking pathetic from a pro analyst, let alone an ex-coach. It reads like some shit I'd expect from some 15-year-old who just lost a bet on CSGO Lounge. It's like this guy is trying to be the next Thorin or some shit, but without any charisma whatsoever. Sadly, there are a lot of people who will preach about the importance of mental health and then prompt people with tweets like this to fuel even more hate towards an individual. Now, listen, guys, I'm sorry. I get it. Mental health's important, yeah. You can't just not be criticised because you might be, you can't. Like, criticism in the world of sports comes with the territory. Kassad has become a huge, sketchy betting site shill. Wouldn't surprise me if he did lose a bet. Was going to post something, but you basically said it. Sounds like a bully in school who put money down and lost. By the way, did that ever happen to you at school? You ever place bets on bullying? Did you ever do that? You ever place bets on bullies, like school bullies fighting the nerd? You ever quickly do a whip round and place bets? Like, no, right? I didn't think so either. Seems a bit weird. Don't know what your school was like doing, like human fucking dog fights. Like, I don't know what's going on there. I agree with the rest of this, but I hope you don't think Thorin is charismatic either. Speaking of which, what happened to Thorin? Let's talk about Thorin for a while. Nothing to do with the thread. I sometimes think the same after not hearing of him for a while, and then when I check his Twitter, literally nothing changes. Same 100 posts a week where he's throwing shots left and right, posting some philosophy and pictures, trying to be edgy. Well-known edgy philosophy. Does this leave a bad taste in anyone else's mouth? Not just because it's a bad take, but because he knows that he has a following. He knows that much of the community and the players themselves will see this, and he still decided to attack someone's self-confidence so aggressively. Maybe I'm just too soft. But I wouldn't have the heart to say things like this to people who are trying as hard as they can. I can give you an example, Ictoan42. I can give you a test here. You have a family member, and they're in an accident. It's a shame, right? Shame that happened. And they go to hospital, and the surgeons try as hard as they can, but they fuck up and fuse their leg. And they're just stuck like that now. They have to cartwheel around. They can never walk properly again. Constant cartwheels circling. And it turned out the surgeon, well, he did try his best. Yeah, you'd be fuming. You'd be fuming at your cartwheel fucking parent. You know what I mean? Just because people try doesn't mean you can't fucking criticize them when they fucking fail. I've never heard such absolute nonsense in my life, you fucking moron. Just fucking so dumb. He's an in-game leader that got talked into one of the best jobs in the world in Counter-Strike by Reddit with 0 credentials to have it and has fucked it up. People get to notice that. That's life. I'm sorry. But Yes, I reckon you'd be fucking fuming if somebody did something. I'm using a silly example, but I think if somebody in your life tried and fucked something up that affected you, I think you'd be absolutely spewing about it. And you'd want to criticise that person. So, anyway, I agree 100%. I'm critical of Hooxi. Definitely not. You call him the Giga Chad. But that's just undeserved. Kassad is a no-Nico dick muncher and Hooxi hater. I know we're used to controversial tweet equals baiting because it's a Thorin classic and you see dipshits like Maui Snake picking it up as well. By the way, none of this has anything to do with Thorin or Maui, but we're talking about them. But it's 100% in character for Kassad. I don't know, what if it's just his genuine opinion that he's genuinely expressing on his Twitter feed for his followers? I don't know. These kinds of people are the worst. They strike others when they are down. You never see that on Reddit. Looking for every BS reason to put them down just so it can fit their narrative. Don't know. That's all over the place, that one. It left a bad taste because he said it with a complete lack of class. Dude never had class to begin with. Him and Richard Lewis and co are a dying breed. Dying breed. Richard Lewis. Here we go. Bring Richard Lewis to the party. They all want it to be like it was in the olden days. Spoiler, if it was like it was in the olden days, I mean, that tweet would have been a million times worse and no one would have cared. It doesn't mean they can't come out with some good analysis, but most of it is just anger and resentment at the younger generation daring to do it differently. God knows there is plenty wrong, but that doesn't mean the old ways were any better. Well, the younger generation dares to do it differently. Someone says, how do they do it differently? They use beard oil, is the answer. Okay. Pretty sure Kassad must know what that is. But anyway, then he gets asked again, what do you mean though? Somebody here, they, the younger generation, have a better understanding of the game, so just process that, let that percolate. Kassad, older, spent longer with the game, was a top-tier coach, has genuine, insane underdog placements at the highest ranked tournaments in the world. He knows less about the game than the younger generation. Okay, the younger generation has a better understanding of the game, beyond stats analysis, beyond and basic rounds. They have a better way to see the tactical depth of a round and thus find the best way to analyse it and who is to blame for what. In my opinion, Kassad's understanding of Counter-Strike is just not as good as Maui Snake or Yanko or Pimp, and it shows in his takes, which are very one-dimensional. By the way, only Yanko out of those worked as a coach. Narrative-based and take a lot less tactics and understanding. That's what the younger generation does differently. That'd be that young generation of Maui Snake and Pimp, I guess. They're just better players and don't see the players, but rather the plays. New analysts don't use aggressive language. Good. They get hair transplants. They are not balding. CS fans, ladies and gentlemen, how could you even want to stand with them? I watched Richard Lewis's stream for a bit the other day, and my God, every other sentence was, it's not like it used to be. It's accurate. It's not like it used to be. But it's just appreciably worse. And keep in mind, I am saying it was better in 2019 and 2020. Not saying 20 years ago. I'm saying 3 years ago. That's what I mean. None of it is really coherent. On the one hand, he is saying that the quality of competitive players dropped. But on the other, he says that players are soft and should be able to play best of threes back-to-back all day. I've never said that. I think one best of three a day is optimal. I want it to stay that way. I also am saying I don't want best of one. I don't know. Whereas, if you listen to the complaints of modern IGLs, the issue isn't so much the format of the matches as the preparation time in between the matches. I've already said it's oversaturated. We play too many games that don't matter. You agree with me? You're too much of a fucking moron to realise. Anyway, this guy, for fuck's sake, it was not the calls. I would blame him for the veto because Vertigo was a mistake. Okay, so Hooxi is to blame then. But the team stars did not show up on a map that they never play. Kassad is one of the most biased analysts with the shittiest takes. Hooxi may have fucked up some of his calling. So again, we admit, okay, it's bad. But come on, man. JKS was the only consistent factor for G2 in their run. He wants to be G2's coach so desperately. I don't know how he would ingratiate himself to G2 by saying how shit G2 are, but okay. I guess that's how it works. Kassad, being toxic is a choice. No wonder you don't get invited to events anymore. Like, literally was working events this year. And a lot of us are happy about it. There's just loads of this. It's just all nonsense. It's just an opinion, guys. It's just one analyst's opinion. And you even know it's a biased opinion. It's okay to just not get mad, upset about it. But obviously, triggered as fuck. Then we had the Vax Sucks contingent. Always here whenever we do our reviews of an event. The Vax Sucks contingent was out in force watching this major. Obviously, this major filled with cheaters, wasn't it? Everyone was cheating the whole time. And you can see here, cheating in the major. Cheating in major on land, can you believe it? Imagine if they win it while not being caught like Flusha. Damn admin must be getting a good amount of underhanded pay. Well, let's have a look then. Let's have a look at this cheating clip. What is the clip that's got them banged to rights? The clip is called Warro 2K cheating accusation at Paris Major. Let's have a look.
Як це грати? Не зрозуміло. Бомба на землі. Інфа є, ну один на Б, другий на А. Надважкий раунд. Ну тут я не знаю хто. Кейдіан може таке вигравати.
Ну там, мабуть, тільки це грати. Як це грати?
Look at all the times the crosshair touches someone here.
Є, ну один на Б, другий на А. Надважкий раунд. Ну тут я не знаю хто. Кейдіан може таке вигравати.
Ну там, мабуть, тільки Кейдіан.
Here's what I don't get, right? Like, I know a little thing or two about these cheats. And obviously, if you were clicking... So hang on. Let me just tell you. If I'm here, right, and I want to kill this guy on A, so I aim lock here, is, I guess, the theory. So, sorry, there. I aim lock there. And it misses the player that's an immediate threat to me by, like, I don't know, like a full screen movement to lock on a guy there. I don't know. That's not very helpful as a cheat, actually. That's almost like a disadvantage. That's like a mindfuck. Because now you think there can't possibly be anyone on A, but you know someone's coming from behind. And this is what I mean. Like, X-Ray broke people's brains. It really did. One of the worst things that happened to the game, X-Ray being normalized. And yeah, people go, oh, his cheat malfunctioned. Every time they see a clip that proves it. Cheat malfunction. That's what it must be. And there was another dumb thread. Here it is. This one. For some reason, someone got upset about Heroic being represented. Blast continuously forcing Heroic down everyone's throat is starting to get old. Title. Basically getting tired of watching Cadian interview after Cajun interview with a couple Heroic hype videos in between. Blastralis has turned into Blastroic. They were one of the favourites to win by the time we made it to that. And then, yes, of course, Nip Flair. Blast equals Danish, Astralis equals Danish, Heroic equals Danish. Why so surprised? Now, by the way, that's not what's going on at all. I'm not saying I'm surprised. I'm saying we should talk about it more because it's clear that competitive integrity could be at risk. Also, cringeworthy. So, how that affects competitive integrity, I don't know. What do I know? It's fine. Somebody says, how could it be at risk? He goes, is it not obvious? A tournament organizer having a favourite team is the definition of a competitive integrity breach. The definition. All right. There was another thread, which again, I think it got deleted in the end because you weren't allowed to say this, but don't worry. The mods quickly realised you don't even have to delete this. People were down voting it. Horrible major so far, only me. Not only you, I'm afraid. How fun is it watching complete unknown teams knocking out old legends? I'm so disappointed in how it all turned out. No G2, FaZe, Na'Vi, Fnatic, Nip, Liquid, Cloud9. I'm all for the underdog story, but can't help but repent these new teams who are beating all the favourites. Resent, I think he wanted. He's not repenting. And then people said it was a bait. Just literally, by the way, just don't lose. Out in the wild, just don't lose. Like, that's actually the attitude. The format's fine, just don't lose. Everyone thinks this was the best major because it was, you know, the second major they've seen, and the other one was Rio. So out of that sample size, yes. I did say there were some other things to talk about related to the show. Is this it? This was just an example of the fucking truly transformative content we were getting from Jake Lucky. shit, it's still going.
To right, first and foremost,
Yeah,
fist. To right, first and foremost, fist. Fitz.
He had one job,
first and
right?
Foremost, fist.
He just called him Fist, for fuck's sake. He's not even relevant to esports. He's just a dude. I went and looked at his YouTube videos. Yeah, he's got like millions of subs. It just doesn't mean anything. People just watch garbage. And it's just him and his friends, like, when they die, saying like silly things in a game. And all he had to say was Fitz, and he's called him fucking Fist. I can't deal with it, like. But anyway, that was the level. If I fast forward through this is the episode, by the way, where he starts talking about, oh, if you follow me on Twitter, people know how I feel about bananas, but more on that later. Maybe there might be some content relating to me eating bananas. Like, I'm like, what? Like, it was objectively bad, guys. It has to be seen to be believed. Like, this was the other hot segment. This was after the banana talk, I think. He had his guests rate the jerseys.
I'll hold these up. We'll rank them best.
This is a major, guys.
Not best, but they're still great.
Least good.
All right, so first up, Gamer Legion. An amazing performance today. I believe I'm showing this camera right here.
It's clean.
Oh, Kiaz.
Let's go. It's clean. I like it.
He's a jersey, though.
Hey, shirtless back there. So we got the Gamer Legion jersey.
It kind of looks like, in Avengers when they're like disintegrating. That's the vibe I'm getting, which is maybe not a good sign. That's all.
Right now, you see, Jake Lucky probably insisted on this. I think he insisted on this segment. I'll find out for sure. I'll ask around. But you know how like Jake Lucky's thing is, he has a jersey from every like esports org, and it's all about the drip. Like, so it wouldn't surprise me if he came up with this as an idea, and Blast said, "Wow, that's really good. We'll get you a jersey from each of the teams." He tweets all the time about jerseys. Yeah, that is the thing. Like, so this is 100% his idea. But let's keep going with it.
I'm saying it's maybe not a good sign.
Booa Stiko, by the way. Imagine, by the way, being like having a career path like Stiko, where he's been in like, you know, dysfunctional teams, was broken apart by like star players. He's had like, you know, personal health issues. He's been involved in the CSPPA. He sort of took a back step from that so he could focus more on creating Apex. He's had all of these issues. You know, Shocks was in the team for a time, and yet with this team that he's like built and sort of, you know, helped like get to a spot. Like, he's got loads of super cool stories to like that you could ask him about. And now here's what we're doing instead.
Clean again. You love it. Heroic's logo reminds me of the Transformers logo. Am I crazy for thinking that?
Are you just naming a bunch of superhero movies that you can possibly reference for?
You're paying me a lot of money.
It does look like the Autobots, to be fair. To be fair, Fist.
Oh, this one looks familiar. We should have just taken the one off your back. Had you shirtless for this segment?
Whose is it?
Should have just had you shirtless. Yeah, all right, Jake.
Who is that?
Is there any name?
No,
there's no name.
Yeah, so we took this one from a fan.
Yeah.
Lay that one out, and then
show it some respect, man. Come
on.
Actually, show it some respect.
It was a reach. It was
getting it creased.
Last one for you, and of course, over at Blast.tv or Blast TV chat, you guys can also have a chance to rank these jerseys alongside you. So we'll see if we line up with how chat does, huh?
Okay.
Yeah, gonna get right on that.
And
Jake.
also, lastly, for all of you viewers at home, I believe the jersey that wins this vote count, we're actually going to give away at some point.
Wow.
During this major. So. Again, I know it's tough. We got a bit of bias on the panel, right? I know you're ruthless. So let's go best to worst. Chat, you can vote alongside us. I'll keep my 2 cents out.
Do we have to agree?
No, you don't.
Oh,
good.
Maybe that's
good, Stiko. Bring some conflict to the broadcast, mate.
I start? How we doing?
Let's have Fitz go first, and we'll see how you guys defer, maybe, yeah?
Sure.
Just guy in the background with really like something on his head. That's fine, I guess.
Okay, so
anyway, I can't do it anymore, guys. That was the Jake Lucky experience. Like, it's so fucking upsetting that this is major content. Well, that's what you got. We could have had documentaries. We could have had anything. Instead, we just got man obsessed with jerseys, forces other people to rate jerseys, and talks about bananas at various points. It's simply awful. There was minor ructions. I don't know if you saw about this, but there was like something about Yakinda. He got a warning for abusing the crowd. Just want to show you the absolute state of this, by the way. You gotta love it.
CSGO Roll. The coolest drop is only here. Try it now. Use code WeWatch to get 5% bonus and free cases every day.
Right. The absolute garbage content that G2's official sponsor will fucking sponsor is somehow they've sponsored a video on in a channel with 1.18k subscribers. It's just so bad. Like,
Сегодня ты сделал очень серьезный клатч 1-2. Я прям хлопал.
Did a clutch. Everybody clapped. Did the guys from the crowd help you? Yes, but Blast gave me a warning later.
Ты серьезно?
Really? Yeah, you can't do this. So that's kind of interesting because that's never happened before, where players have like abused the crowd showing the crosshair positions, and all players do it, and we know that they do it. But I've never heard of players being warned before. That's something new. Here it is.
Not enough. Can Yakinda make anything out of this one? Look at that smoke. Yeah, that seals his fate.
And
maybe.
It's being consistent. When you watch Apex play, they have the stubbornness. They always want to push up the backtracks. Okay, Yakinda. Is that enough?
It might be, you know. Nork getting a cruel game played with him here. Yakinda looking for trouble. Overtaken! And he executes Nork!
So I'm just saying, like, I've never seen a player do it that blatantly before. Players shouldn't do it that blatantly. And it was like a little bit of a pushback on Reddit and HLTV, where they were like saying, you shouldn't penalize the players for that. What can they do? They have to try and use the crowd. It's all part of the game. This has been going on at LAN since the very start of LAN. It's like, nah, actually, what you should do is throw those fans out. That's what you should do. But you won't do that. And we know we won't do that. Doesn't matter how many times they do it, we will not remove a fan. And we will pander to a fan, and we'll allow fans to get away with anything because they're turning up and paying a ticket. All right, well, so there's only one other area we can do anything about, and that is the players. You have to stop the players doing it. So I'm glad Yakinda got a warning for that, actually. And I hope, let's make that the new standard then. If you're not going to penalise the crowd, penalise the fucking players for abusing the crowd. And it was interesting as well because it did happen during the Vitality games. Listen, I want to be as fair as possible to everyone. It was a problem when it was happening in Brazil. I criticised it in Brazil. I didn't say it was an exclusive Brazilian problem. I never did. I criticised it when it was in Denmark, in Odense before that, and I criticised it here in Paris again. I knew they were cheating. I was making jokes about it during the NMC. I was literally saying, they're cheating. They're cheating. And Darth Mike, wasn't he? He was trying to go, oh, come on, Richard. I'm sure they're just doing it legitimately, but no, they were cheating, right? And so anyway, they sent out Banks, didn't they? They had to send out Banks at half-time to tell everybody, stop cheating. Banks obviously had this new air of intimidation around him because he'd been heard saying that he was getting ready to smash with his mic on another hot mic. So the crowd was super afraid. They sent out Banks because Banks is the man of the people. Everyone said, "Whoa, I don't want to get smashed." And there you go. And you can see people like, "Oh, I'm glad. It's good. Yes. Well done." Yeah, I don't know, like, maybe when you turn up to an event like this, you can just not be a cunt. And I'm sick and tired of people saying, oh, this is like people getting excited and you wouldn't tell people to be quiet at a football game or whatever. No, but you would at tennis and you would at snooker and you would at darts, right? Like, when people are trying to take a shot at snooker, you don't go, oh, you're not allowed to do it. You get thrown out. It's as simple as that. Not every sport has to be compared to football, by the way. Like, some sports are different. They're still sports, but they're not football. So, the crowd got warned. The crowd were arseholes. You know who else was an arsehole? We're going back to this. We're doing this again. Maui Snake was an arsehole. Bet you were surprised, right? Obviously, Kassad was an arsehole. I'm an arsehole. Thorin's an arsehole. Everyone who isn't in the younger generation is an arsehole. We had Dinko's an arsehole. Banks isn't an arsehole, but everyone else arsehole because we don't tiptoe around players' feelings. And so when Heroic went out, choking yet another big tournament, Maui decided to do what you're meant to do when you're on a sports desk, and that is to express, you know.
Now, Cadian's story is written. He is never going to be among that upper echelon. He's never going to enter the pantheon of great in-game leaders. The case is closed for me. He's not there with Zeus. He's not there with Glaive. He's not there with Kerrigan.
Now, that's a reasonable opinion, you would think. But you will notice that this thread, and by the way, I thought he delivered it in an impeccable way, and he did it in like a very short period of time, really shows his broadcasting chops. But Maui shows some heart. This guy just lost a major. Right, so new rules are in. No criticisms of any player at any time they exit the major, no matter in what circumstances. Always the same thing with Maui, nearly 1,000 upvotes. So confident in his takes, but very little background on them. It's almost as if the desk can only do surface level analysis. Because while Blast wants to make a big deal about the Mahone zone and say, look at the deep analysis Mahone can do. By the way, anyone with the time and the tools who works in an analysis desk in Counter-Strike can do exactly what Mahone does. He's not some sort of savant. He's just a regular dude. Maui could do it. Kassad could do it. Maniac could do it. Pimp could do it. They could all do it. Many of the casters could do it. Right? It's just like, here's the thing that happened in the game. Let me explain what it means while using a contextual tool. You think that's some sort of fucking genius. That's actually the standard in esports fucking analysis. Like, Gary Neville doesn't have the Neville zone where he's just off, like, separately pointing at a thing. No, he says, and I'm going to show you what happened here, and he walks up to a fucking touchscreen and starts doing it, and then Jamie Carragher will go, nah, you fucking wrong there, Gary, like, you fucking wrong, and here's why you fucking wrong, you meth, and then he'll start touching the screen and drawing over Gary's drawings, and we just do that, like, it's just normal in sports. They do it in NFL, they do it in NBA, they do it in football. That's just how it is. But no, in esports, having a touch screen and doing a weatherman segment is the most fucking, like, sacred, precious analysis of all. We only get a little bit of it. And then everybody criticizes the people on the desk that are serving up to you exactly what they are being instructed to by the people who sign their checks. They are told, we talk about this, 1 minute, next point, 1 minute, next point. Here's a graphic, 1 minute, I have to do a sponsor read, 1 minute, now we got to do 3 minutes of break. That is how it works on a desk. I was a host on TV where the time constraints were even more rigid because we literally had to throw to a commercial. That's how it works. That's the reality. So Maui Snake is very good at what he does. If you don't like what it is he is being told to do, your beef is with Blast. Your beef is with ESL. Ask yourself, though, why they do this. What is the point in putting effort into analysis segments you cunts don't watch? Oh, yeah, that's right. Viewership, desk so boring. You don't even like the analysis, so what is the point? Why would they spend more money? Do you know how much it costs to bring in a telestrator? You know how much you have to show everyone how to do it. It's got to be there. It's extra tech that can go wrong. It's an extra risk. You have to have somebody specifically with it in the production truck. Pain in the arse. You guys don't know what the fuck. You, a pleb at home, don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Me, a guy, been on telly, run these shows, do know what I'm talking about. And they are being told to serve that up. That's it. And it's not worth doing anything different when the viewership goes down from 140 to 20,000 as soon as, and now the desk. You don't care, guys. So if you don't care, why should the TO spend money on something you don't care about? That is real talk. Cadian isn't even 28 yet. At what age did Carrigan finally win a major? Ah, yes, 32. Siri, what is context? You have to remember that Cadian came back from very far. In my opinion, it's impressive what he's done already. Yes, Heroic has a tendency to not finish tournament, but Maui makes it sound like CS is over. The whole storyline of this major. Chill. There is time still. Not in CSGO, not to win a major. That was the narrative. Anyway, all of this again, same shit I've showed you a million times. You know, see somebody did it, this JK Sex, a new account called JK Sex, a G2 fan, a JKS fan, just the worst. Literally every post they're going to make on the subreddit garbage. If mods gave a shit, they'd ban accounts like that. You would spot them a mile off and ban them. They're not going to. They're going to allow that person to basically tank their karma, fuck up every thread they're in, say provable nonsense, then maybe they come back on another account and mods go, yeah, well, our subreddit is a steaming pile of shit. How did it get like that? This is how it gets like that. But anyway, using it as a copy pasta, which, great pasta, what a pasta, right? Now Maui Snake's story is written. He's never going to be among the upper echelon. He's never going to enter the pantheon of great analysts. Here's the problem with that as a joke. It doesn't even work. He's literally working at the highest tier an analyst can work. So, I don't know. He is in that pantheon. That's the point. Easily the worst desk of any major. Forgettable. I don't think the desk was the problem, and many other problems. The desk wasn't one of it. ESPN Energy from that analyst. Don't even know what that means. Would have been a compliment a few years ago, well, maybe a decade ago now, I don't know, but like certainly isn't now. On the one hand, Cadian has been around CSGO since the beginning, not quite breaking through to a top team, and now that he finally did, they came up short at the last major, so in fact he won't be the major champion, he won't be on top of CSGO. This, by the way, is such a Reddit thing to do. I agree with Maui, but the thread is this way, the circle jerk is this way, and I'm going to jump into the circle, start jerking off with the rest of you cretins. On the other hand, fuck off. Kicking man that really couldn't have done anything more for the win. He deserves praise for his own and heroic performances at Major. Love that. Maui is the guy who tries to have all the controversial takes, but he doesn't have the same flair as someone like Thorin. We've got to bring him up again. Remember that irrelevant person. Oh yeah, classic. Who hired this guy? Reddit crying over hot takes as usual. That's fair. Anyway, on it goes. Just wall of nonsense. Just for doing your job in a broadcast. Now, we're getting to the end, so we can end with some comedy. The broadcast, as I said, overall, it was aight. It wasn't anything special. It was like watching another blast, which, if it was another blast, that would be good. It wasn't, so that sort of makes it bad, but it wasn't bad enough to be bad. It was just okay. Where do I want to start with this? Because this is mental. Well, anyway, right. Obviously, it was in France. I don't know if you knew that. And because it was in France, they had to have a French person in the stadium basically shouting maximum oui and all of that stuff. That's what they do. You have to have it in French. So, and that's fine. It is France after all. They speak French there. But the guy that they had, the host, who I believe is called CND, I believe his name is, right? Obviously not familiar with his work because I'm not a French speaker. But he had been celebrating so many moments with Vitality and singing with the Vitality fans, he broke the cardinal sin of the broadcast, which is, when people talk about vocal fry and they talk about their voice blowing out, that's okay if you've let it all hang out there and you've done like an epic cast for the ages. Spoiler, you always reserve a little bit and you save those to the real end. Generally, vocal fry is because you've been doing shit you shouldn't have been doing, like shouting and screaming your head off when you know you've got a job to do, or you go out drinking and you do the old classic, alcohol, cigarettes, shouting over loud music, and now suddenly my voice is gone. You go, I don't know what happened, sir. It must be the laryngitis. Excuse me, Richard, you still smell a whiskey. It's the laryngitis. I only drank the whiskey for the laryngitis. That's what happens, right? That's how it goes. So this French dude basically blew his own voice out, right? Which is fair enough, because Blast spelt his name wrong anyway on their announcement. So fuck them. He ended up doing this fucking bit, dude. It's too much, man. I got two clips. I think they might segue into the same. Let me get this. It's just so good, because this is the final. Right, so this is not the final, it's the show match, but it's the day of the final. You've got the crowd there. You're trying to hype everybody up. Everyone wants to see Vitality. Everyone wants to see, some returning legends. And this guy, I don't know why he said, I'm okay to do it, boss. They should have got any other French person. They could have had an ex-player do it. I know it's hard, but what they ended up with is so staggeringly bad that someone had to intervene. Someone had to cut the mic. It was just one of those. It was one of those moments. Anyway, you can hear for yourself.
This is Team France! Shucks!
Fucking hell, it's so bad, dude. It's so fucking bad, guys. Like, it's really, really bad. And he introduces each of them, and he's trying. See, when I've had this happen to me, when you blow your voice out, because it used to happen to me a lot when I was in a punk band. There's like a sub-frequency you can get to down here where you're kind of pushing it out. And you will sound ridiculous, but you're not actually hurting your vocal cords. But if you try and talk normally, it's gonna disappear into the ether. Your pitch is fucked, right? And so, anyway, he is doing that, right? And then going to France! It's so good. I don't know why he sounds like D-Man, but whatever. Anyway, it's too good.
This is Team France! Shucks, la plus grande légende du Counter-Strike français. De source à csgo, en passant par 1.6, il est indémodable. Jax, aussi connu que ses entrées pour son déhanché sur le dance floor, Il est là.
See, he got it normal. He got it normal there. He nearly had it normal. He had to stay there. But because he just wants to do what his voice does and he wants to hype it up with the crowd, it's too much, dude.
Déhanché sur le dance floor. Il est là tout charme de l'équipe de France. Kenny S, le magicien, à peine retraité, il est déjà de retour sur les serveurs. Il est le joueur le plus spectaculaire de sa génération. Body. Oh, Body.
Body. Oh, Body.
Body. Oh, Body. Rescapé de la super team, il est toujours l'un des joueurs français les plus compétitifs. RPK, le tank, la légende. Mort banane. Sur la piste, lui n'a jamais de problème dans son oreillette.
For Team France!
Looks like they sent Banks out for the final scream. They sent Banks out for the final scream. He couldn't make it. He had nothing left in him. Not after more banana. More banana.
This is Team France!
Too good. Too fucking good. So yeah, just unbelievably comedically bad. Like everything has to be a fucking travesty with esports. It will always be shit. It will always be a joke. And CS just, I don't know, like even on everyone thinks we're the cool esport, but that is as embarrassingly bad as like that Heroes and Newith clip. Like we're esports, like we're shit, and we just have to start accepting we're shit. No one wants to make it better. Let's just embrace the shitness. I'm all right with it. That's just so stupefyingly embarrassing. It's ridiculous. This is Team France! Just fucking great. Just love it. Put your cans in the air is another classic. Like, look, it's a mad, mad world being a fucking stage host, but that was something else. I mean, you know, like, you just have to tell that dude, like, I mean, first of all, that dude has to say, I've got no voice. And then, second of all, as soon as you hear his voice, you have to, right, cut the mic, send in Banks, deploy Banks. Banks fixes everything. This is the Banks major, deploy it all. So there it is. I guess that was the major, guys. You know, listen, I'm gonna do a bit of content probably tomorrow where I'm gonna rate all the majors. We'll do the little tier thing, right? We've done sticker review, we've done major review. Let's rate all the majors properly. That was the major review. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you knew, go to nordvpn.com/RLS. Go get yourself a VPN at a great discount. They're doing loads of deals at the moment, by the way. If you have nordvpn.com/RLS, but if you have nordvpn.com, you can recommend a friend and get 3 months free added on to anything you take advantage of as well. So super good time to sign up. And thanks to all the regulars and all the people that sort of helped send me those bits and pieces. We've also got to do the meme review. How could I even forget that? CSGO meme review from the majors in there. I'm going to try and get Harry and Hugo, maybe, or one of them at least, involved. It'd be good to see Hugo. We didn't see him at the No Majors Club. So until then, look after yourselves. Always a joy. Bye.